I'd like to welcome everyone to our another one of our roundtable discussions that were originally designed for programs that have specialized programmatic accreditation, either people who are thinking of it or need to maintain it. Today, we're going to be talking about involving students, and at first I called it involving students in accreditation, then I said involving students in assessment, because that's really what accreditation is. It's another form of peer review. For those of you who are here who don't have specialized accreditation, the process you're hearing still applies to you, because you're responsible for your program outcomes that are in the catalog. So when you do your assessment, you need to find out, are your students learning what you promised in the catalog, those 8 program outcomes? And how do you know, right? The programs with specialized accreditation do the same thing for the 8 in the catalog, plus they have a whole bunch of others, what are often called standards. Are they both called standards?
Yep.
So they're going to be talking today around the measurement of their standards, but just know it still applies to any assessment process. Okay? All right, great. So I invited Michelle and Jan because Michelle just finished up a recent accreditation visit and had a lot of interesting ways in which she involves students, and I thought it was helpful. And I know Jan has always prepared her students, but she's also been on 2 accreditation visits, so I think it's a good perspective. Because it's still fresh in your mind. And one of my goals for doing this, and this last thing I'll say, is we're very good at preparing people for a visit right before the accreditors come, and my goal for this session is for us to get some ideas of how to involve students in the quality and continuous improvement of our programs all the time.
Sure.
Does everyone know everyone? Do you want to quickly go around the room and say your role, so in case you have questions for each other or stay in touch after?
Me?
Yeah.
Mike Walter, Program Director for Management and Leadership.
Matt Connell, Program Director for Business Admin.
Natalia Zagula, I support Riette in accreditation and other OIE things.
Carrie Morin, run the Center for Teaching Excellence.
I'm Sharon Koch. I'm the Department Chair for General Education.
And me, Riette, OIE.
Christy Walsh, Program Director for Dental Hygiene.
Karen Krause, Interim Director for Post-Licensure Programs in the Nursing Department.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Ladies, the floor is yours.
Okay.
You're next.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I'll start then. So, in nursing, I think that we try to integrate assessment, and especially in the accreditation standards with the students, by letting them know about assessment data. So I meet with the students the first night of every class of every semester. And at that time, I'll bring them up on NCLEX pass rate, which is one of our big assessment points. I'll give them information about the grad surveys, and things that graduates have identified that they think need to be changed or implemented that would help the program become better. That's important for students to hear, because what it does is it facilitates their desire to want to share more information with you, because it validates that the information that they share, you do actually use it to make changes. So changes like changes in the textbook for our OB/PD course, changes in having faculty created versus ATI created exams. Those are just 2 great examples of things that we changed based on feedback from the students. So when they hear that as an example, it really encourages them to share more data or more information or feedback with you. I also do mid-semester forums with them, and at mid-semester forums I give them another update on any assessment data that would have come in during that period of time, which sometimes there is stuff and sometimes there isn't. Typically I'll have another grad survey that I'll share with them. I update them with anything that's going on in the faculty meetings. They're invited to attend every faculty meeting the first Monday of every month. Many of them don't come. We usually have 1 student who comes on any regular basis, but I update them on what we're working on. So we're in the middle, we're getting ready for a reaccreditation visit. Just so excited in September, waiting with bated breath. And so I've been working with them now for a couple of semesters on some background information about accreditation. And because I have done a couple of site visits, I have two very different perspectives from two very different leads that I worked with on what they're going to ask the students when they are here on the visit. And so you pretend you're the visitor, and I say to them, so tell me, how do you share in the governance of the nursing program? And that's exactly what you get back. Okay, so I said, isn't it great that we're doing this mock? So I don't tell them what to say, but I give them examples of what some of the responses are. About 5 minutes into this exercise, you got students just having a conversation with you as they should be doing with a site visitor. I am hoping, and this is the first time I've done this, because the last reaccreditation visit, was 7-8 years ago. I don't remember doing this. So this strategy came from being a site visitor and wanting to prevent the students from having that deer in headlights kind of look. So that's helped them. I asked them about different components of the curricular framework. In our visits, and the lady who's coming to do our mock, she's going to ask them, what's the curricular framework of your program? And it's that same quiet prayer-like response that somebody else will answer so that you won't have to talk. I'm doing that a little bit closer to the actual review time. So in the summer I will do it, and then the first week in the fall I will refresh that with all of the students. But it is something that when I lecture them, I incorporate that curricular framework into, I teach on geriatrics, so I incorporate that. If you put the geriatric patient onto our curricular framework, do you see why we teach you the way we do? Why all these different boxes? And the other thing that I do is I put a picture of the curricular framework in both of the main classrooms, and then I will schedule the student meeting in the classroom that has the big, gigantic, like 5x6 poster on the front of the room for the students to be able to see as she asks about the curricular framework. And I will hope that she just doesn't turn around and see that. But that makes it more real to them. I think for me to say, these are the accreditation standards and this is how they pertain to you, isn't as meaningful as giving it to them in terms of when the accreditors come, they want to know our pass rates, whether you guys are getting jobs when you get out of here, whether you're really learning what we intend for you to learn, and those are the end of learning program outcomes that you see in the catalog, because they don't read those things. Those things are all on the syllabi. Students don't read the words of the syllabi. We have it there for the accreditors that this learning objective correlates to this end of program learning outcome, but they don't read that. Do you have a question?
Just to catch Mike up, you were talking about in the beginning, you visit all your classes and you share evaluation data, either grad survey or some sort of data on your program and your program outcomes that students have suggested to let them know how you've addressed it, so that sets up the idea that, I should participate in any evaluation because it really does matter. And then you do it again mid-semester. You call them mid-semester forums.
Mid-semester forums.
And now you're talking about how you prepare them for an actual visit.
Right. So in the preparation for the visit, I started prepping them a couple of semesters ago for anybody who would still be here when the visit was going to happen, because the other ones, they don't care. They won't be here, so they don't pay as much attention. And we try to stress to them that you have to care about accreditation, whether you're here when we have the accreditation visit or whether you're gone, because you always want to have graduated from the program that's accredited. Because if your program requires accreditation and you don't have it, that'll be problematic for you as you go forward. So it's how we do it in nursing. It's not anything I hand to them. It's nothing formal. It's very informal. It's very personal dialogue from me to them, explaining, as we get closer to the visit, I explain how important accreditation is, but getting them to that student meeting when the accreditors are here is incredibly important to me, because I know as a visitor, when I go and there's no students there, it doesn't impact the outcome of the survey, but it doesn't give me as strong a feeling about the program, a strong positive feeling about the program, because when the students come and they can talk about what the program offers them, what they're getting out of the program, that's really what the accreditors want to know. They want to know that you're doing what you say you're going to do in this beautiful self-study or assessment data that you write up for internal use if you're not externally accredited. The important thing is really, are the students getting what they need to get, and do they value the education that we're providing them? We can write up all kinds of things. We can make data look any way it is, but you can't make people tell you anything but exactly how they feel it is. So that's kind of what we do in nursing. Pretty simple mid and beginning semester meetings where we just make that a very strong component of what the content that I present to them.
Do you want to take questions now, Jan, or do you want to wait till?
Whatever the group, the pleasure of the group.
I can share first and then we can. Now, I have a little bit of a different story because I came into this accreditation thing as a new program director, had never done it before. My first, even though I had been here, I don't know, about a year and a half, 2 years as faculty, but I didn't really know what our conceptual framework was. So here I was reading the original accreditation report going, oh,
Good to know. Good to know.
So I actually, as Jan said, I actually put together a graphic because it helped me understand it. And we also have it in the front of our classroom. And at the beginning of the semester, I share it with the students and I talk about it. One of the things that I think is a little bit different is a lot of our students work in programs that are accredited. Our accreditor accredits higher ed programs, but they also accredit early childhood programs. So a lot of them have a little bit of an understanding of what accreditation is. So that kind of helps the conversation a little bit and helps have some buy-in from them. Now, as I said, I sort of came to this in the 11th hour. And I was new to it, and I was nervous about what the students were going to talk about. A couple of other things that we started doing is, as a team, as a program, is although our key assignments are linked to the standards, and we share that with them, as Jan said, a lot of them don't focus on that. What do I need to do? But they don't focus on the link. So in our classes, we started focusing a little bit more on the links. That's why I think Riette gave you copies of a couple of, our PowerPoint slides where I do, when I'm talking about an assignment, I go through the NIAC standards and explain to them why they're doing what they're doing and what the link is.
Which, and a program director could do that with the outcomes of the program.
Yes.
If they're not accredited.
well-
Those could be program outcomes, not NIAC standards.
Yes, and quite honestly, the other thing that we've started doing after the site visit, we actually, and it was something that as I was going through it, I knew I was going to want to do, we rewrote our program outcomes. And our program outcomes now align with the standards. So we now can have slides that show the program outcomes and the standards so that we link it all together. And the other thing I do is in my classes, I do the same thing. So this would, like right now, I would have it split and I would have program outcomes, NIAC standards, so that when we're at the beginning of a class, I will say to them, these are our outcomes for tonight. These are the learning outcomes and these are the standards that they align with. And it just gives them the language. Because I know our accreditors, one of the questions that they said they might ask was, so what do you know about the standards? How do you feel about your learning in relation to the standards? So they really need to have that language. The other couple of things that I did was I did have a focus group, and I will going forward have these on a regular basis. I mean, regular meaning maybe yearly or something like that. I knew there was a lot of, there was going to be a lot of focus on our field work. So I actually had a focus group about that, and I had about 7 students come in, and Missy Quinlan actually ran the focus group, and I sort of just sat back. And so we talked about that. So we got their input from that, and a few of those students were students that agreed to go to the site visit. So that was good because they'd had that information. The other thing was when I invited the student. Oh, I'm going to step back for a second. Yep.
Oh, wait.
Okay. We had a mock site visit. And to me, what was really helpful about that, because I've never been on a site visit before, although I'm hoping for October. I did register. I did sign up. But, so I had no idea what they were going to ask the students, and I was very nervous about that. So interestingly, although the mock site visitor said that she couldn't really give us a list of like questions they were going to ask, the advisory board, this, that, but because she never met with students, because our students are only really on campus in the evening, and she didn't want to be here in the evening. So she did give me a list of some of the questions she was going to ask the students. So for me, that was now I can sort of focus, because like you said, I don't want to tell them what to say, but I do want to give them a sense of what they need to know. Now, the other thing that I did do was, because some of the students that I invited were alumni, and they did suggest that. So even though it's our associate degree that's accredited, I had associate degree students, bachelor level students, and alumni that had been through that associate degree program. So I was able to go out and say, you know what? For you alumni that weren't here when this graphic was designed, although I know it was part of your program, you never saw it.
Right.
So here it is, and here's how I explain it. So I actually sent them the piece of the report that I had written. So at least I was hoping that they would read it before they came in. So it was kind of my way of going in the back door and giving them a little bit of, what they could talk about.
Email as a handout with the excerpt.
What's that?
That's one of the handouts. Your email.
The email to them. Yep. And then the last, we do have a student on our advisory board, an alumni on our advisory board. I have tried to get students on our advisory board, but we meet during the day and they all work full time, and it's very difficult. It's very difficult, but we try. And I guess, that's about it. I have to say that when the accreditors met with the students, they were thrilled. They came away saying wonderful things about our students. Interestingly enough, they told me that one of our students shared a story how her aunt had worked at Goodwin College, and her aunt talked her into coming back to school and coming here. And we all looked at each other and went, who? Like, we had no idea it was. So they really sat down and shared stuff, around a meal. What we did was we got food.
That'll do it.
And but also, I think the accreditors felt like it made it a very much more relaxed atmosphere, that they were able to sit with the students with a plate of food in front of them.
Yeah, food is a good thing. You always have pizza for the students. You always feed them. Feed them, they will come.
Yes.
People can be bought. They have a price.
So that's it. So like I said, it all kind of worked out well.
Yep. Question. So for the programs, like, you do this because you have to keep your program open. Like, the specialized accreditation is a requirement. By involving students and sharing data with students, having conversation with students, can you give an example of a kind of change you made to your program that makes all that activity worth it in itself? Because, like, the folks who are here that don't have to do it, like, does it really impact the quality of your program? Have you made changes as a result of talking directly to students and sharing data with them?
I'm trying to think what changes.
Well, I gave you a couple. We changed the textbooks we were using, and we changed the way the exams were created based on student feedback. Directly, and that came directly from the student forums.
From the conversations or your IOTA data?
Oh, conversations. Pure conversations trended over 3 semesters.
Yeah, one thing that we did was for our student teaching, and that was the focus group that I had. A couple of them felt that it wasn't a perfect match with their mentor, or there were certain things that maybe could have been better. So what we started doing was having kind kind of a meeting at the beginning of that student teaching experience with the mentor teachers to sort of share with them our curricular framework.
Yeah, perfect.
So that was one thing that we implemented. That, you know, this was the first year, so hopefully we'll find out that it was helpful and there was a better connection in that level.
You know, I was at a presentation yesterday for this nursing theorist, and one of the things that she said that, you know, it just struck me is, you know, we should be learning from our students as much as they are learning from us. And sometimes I think we tend to hear student feedback and we think that it's negative just because they don't want to do the work, or they, you know, aren't can't think of the word, but they don't have the desire to do as well as they could. But sometimes if you listen really well, they are telling you about a flaw that is going to cause you some work to fix. And so sometimes your pushback against their suggestion is more related to the fact that it's going to cause you some work than it's a really good suggestion. I mean, there was a lot of work to redo some of those exams that we did, but when you have 3 semesters of students telling you the same thing, if you don't listen, that's a real short sight on our part. Whether you're accredited or not, you want the students going through your program to tell somebody else to go to your program, and to get that repeat business, if you will. You really, and we're in an adult learning environment, so you have to respect the opinions of those people, because many of them are second degrees or have come from somewhere else, done something else, and they may have a strategy or an idea that they bring to the table that really has a lot of merit. I mean, I don't like to hear negative things. I like students to say, you don't need to change a thing. You know, first time out of the gate, you got it right. But the improvements that have happened in the nursing program, at least 50% of them have come from the students telling me what needed to happen.
You know, I can share and this is based on our accreditation standards, but not because of the site visit, because I'm teaching our capstone class in our bachelor program this year. And one of the things I did at the beginning of the semester was put all these standards around the room. And I told the students to go around and say whether they felt like they were beginners, they were developing, or they had mastered this particular standard. And there was one standard, which was about advocacy, that most of them said that they felt like they were beginning. And I know in our associate degree program, we do have like a small advocacy project, but I realize that it's not enough. And plus we do get students that come from associate degree programs from like the community colleges, so they didn't have that here. So I actually made it a bigger unit in that capstone course, but now I'm looking at earlier courses and saying, okay, we need to do more with this, because they didn't feel like they really got enough of it. So that's another change that we are making going forward.
You know, for programs that don't have accreditors, and I have always believed this from the time I came to Goodwin, you don't have to have an outside accreditor to create your own standards. You use the same standards as we do for accreditation. It's administrative, faculty, students, and outcomes. Whether you have an outside accreditor, that's basically where they all fit into. That's the information outside accreditors are looking for. So it's very easy to, I think, very easy to do in a non-accredited program. You just make up your own outcomes of what you want to have happen in those areas and model it right after any accredited program. You can take language right out of somebody else's accreditation standards and create your own. It's just such an easy, it is, you know, I hate I hate accreditation visits. Yeah, I mean, but I like the structure of, I like the roadmap. Yeah.
The other thing with accreditation visits, I've noticed a shift in our thinking. Like the first time you do it, I see people, they have a lot of anxiety. They're worried about it. They just want to get an A on everything. And what I have learned is that by doing things if it's like the day you start preparing for your next visit is the day after they leave. If you just learn about how, I think the accreditor really appreciates, not that when you get an all A, because they're going to say, what are you hiding? Or, come on, really? But I think when you say things like, from doing this process of reflecting on my program against all these standards, I learned I do this really well and I'm proud of it. And I learned some ways that we've made some changes as a result of the discussions we had, and here they are.
Yeah, if you get all A's, you lose an opportunity to grow.
To learn something, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's perfectly okay to say to the accreditor, geez, I didn't even, and this is Michelle and I, she did this all the time. You know, she was like, geez, like we kind of do it. We meet all the time, but we don't take notes. And I was like, I'll start taking notes. Or, yeah, you know, we do have a board, but I hadn't thought about giving them that data. That'd be a great discussion. So then when the accreditor comes, you can say, well, you know, as a result of your process, geez, it was a lot of work, but it was so great. We really learned. I think that takes a lot of the pressure off and makes it a conversation with the accreditor. And they like to hear that the process they created isn't just a way to get our money to rubber stamp your program, but that actually they're part of helping you tell the commission what you're doing well and where you can improve. It's supposed to be quality improvement.
Right, and we actually have a project going on with OIE right now that we didn't like the data. It wasn't shiny and pretty and didn't give us that A. And then we were able to explain why it looked like we weren't getting the A. So the data was saying that not a very low percentage of people were passing the final exam. That was the data we were looking at because we have it correlated to our outcomes and our standards. But when you look a little, but we have a pass rate that's in the 90, over 90%. So it was conflicting, but the data was true. It was the way that we were looking at it. And I'm constantly battling with faculty saying, we don't want to show them that because it doesn't show anything good. I said, oh, we surely want to show them that because it shows process and it shows growth. So I'm able to say, yeah, here's this data. We didn't find it helpful because we have a pass rate of where it should be, but here's what we learned from the data, and here's how we're tweaking the assessment gathering data process, and here's the changes that we have made. It shows process. They're looking more as much as process as they are at outcomes.
And involving your customer in your process is something that I've learned from watching all of you that seems beneficial.
Oh, it's huge.
It just takes more time.
And in nursing, it really doesn't take more time, and it doesn't sound like it does in early childhood either. It's just part of what we do. It's just part of our routine. When it becomes part of your routine, you don't see it as an extra thing to do. It's just business.
How are the rest of you involving students in the governance or the assessment of your program?
Well, we do. First we do mock exams, and we just did our mock for. They're taking their nationals in another month or so.
Oh, wow.
And the scores from the mocks that we did the past 2 years went way up. They were getting 50s and 60s on their mocks the last 2 years. We've got 70s and 80s, and someone got a 96 on the mock this year.
Wow.
I almost fell off my chair. So that's really good because the students in the past were getting 50s and 60s, still passed their nationals, but now it's like, now I know this, I know going into this they're going to be even more prepared. But the one thing that we get is we actually get hard data, and it breaks it down by topic, exactly the subject matter. And across the board for our strong students and our weak students, it's pathology, oral pathology. And we've had an issue with instructors. So we're like, is it the course itself? So we asked the question, well, what can we do? And I have like open forum with my students almost every week because I have an on-ground course. And Mrs. Walsh, this course needs to be at a different point in the curriculum. It should be a semester earlier or in the year before because you're asking us to do these things and we haven't yet learned them when they go to apply it clinically. So that's something that we're going to have a conversation with this summer to try to bring it up and bring in someone who's more specialized in that particular area. Because I think having a degree is great, but I think having the actual knowledge and the experience and something like that, like how to do a biopsy and how to recognize that is far more meaningful. So we're making the adjustments there. So it is like you said, conversations. Like, tell me what you think. What do you feel? Right. We do exit surveys at the end of first year and second year. They're going to be getting those back to us, and that lets us know like what are we doing great and what are we not doing great. And so we've had to change instructors and we've had to just move some things, and it's clearly it worked because this year we've had great increase in our mock results. So.
We do midterm and end of term evaluations that were department created. Those are really helpful because the mid semesters you can change direction and correct before the end of the semester. So we kind of drown in data. The IOTA data is good, but when you conduct it in the classroom, you get better response rate, right?
Mhm.
So we put the two things together, you got a real nice database of feedback that you can make changes based on.
Yeah. What we do is we do every semester, the 5th week of the semester, we have a program meeting where we look at the courses from the last semester, because our courses only run once a year, so we can kind of do that easily. And we look at the IOTA data. We also have a program survey that's done through TaskStream. So we pull all those in, and we have the faculty fill out a survey as well, because sometimes it's adjuncts, it's not always us, you know. So we can kind of look at all that information and make changes to the courses based on that.
The only advice I would have on making changes is, depending on how many cohorts you have a year, don't make it based on one. Because cohorts are unique, you know, and some of them are better than others. You're happy to see some cohorts graduate more than you are others. You know, you're willing to push it up a few weeks if necessary. You know. Any other questions from anybody, or any other topics that other people are doing?
I have a question. When you're talking about standards, is it just, are you talking specific specific accreditation standards, or also generally for the college as well? Because I'm looking at this 10 things a student should know, and there's a lot of college-based, generally speaking,
We
things.
did just the ACEN standards.
Okay. So I wasn't involved with our accreditation 3 years ago.
Right.
I was an adjunct, but at the time we were told to stay away, which I thought was kind of unfortunate.
Well, that's going to change, Christine.
Yeah. So I was like, well, you know, it would have been helpful as, you know, as an adjunct, all of us adjuncts, to know, because, you know, we're all part of that process as
Right.
well. Because if we don't know what the students need to learn, then it kind of puts the higher ups in a bad position.
Yeah.
So, so I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I have to say that, I mean, whereas we really do focus on the accreditation standards and the standards that are specific to the field. But I will tell you that I'm building a course now, and I have 5 outcomes for the course that are really content specific. But then I have one, and it's an entry-level course, based on acquiring skills as a learner, you know, learning how to learn. And it's really based on the institutional outcome of becoming a lifelong learner. So I did pull that in, because a lot of the institutional outcomes are based on being proficient in your field. But I felt that one,
And you'll find them in your program outcomes. A lot of them tie.
They tie
They
in,
fall
right,
right out
okay.
of the institutional.
right. But I certainly do consider them when I'm building a course.
And I'm in a unique situation. I'm going to be looking for accreditation of the online programs in the master's program in nursing that started in January. So I'm thinking about, how do I engage those students in the accreditation process when the visitors come? Do we do webinars, because there's no reason for them to physically come to campus?
That's exactly
So it's going to be very interesting to see too how the accreditors want to speak to the students, and how we're going to kind of organize. So a different
Right.
kind of
That's a
venue.
great point. And
I will
thought about
say
that. Thanks a
that,
lot, Karen.
right.
Yeah.
But I'll make a suggestion. This is the guy to talk to.
Okay.
Mike does a lot with online students and Skyping, and, you know,
Right.
a lot of getting
Good.
them engaged in that way.
Absolutely.
It'll be the
Sorry, Mike.
timing. It'll be the timing
Well,
of when the
well,
visitors
exactly.
are here.
Right. It'll be a lot of logistics, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And going with, we had a meeting with Lisa on Collaborate, and
Right.
now we're just talking about using for like virtual office hours and having it open.
Right.
Open, and students can just log in and do that on top of doing Skype for individual private meetings.
And I'm actually hiring adjuncts from out of the state who will not be physically coming to campus. So we're going to have to use that technology.
We do that for our adjunct meetings. We have a couple, like, we have one in Vermont, I have one in Florida,
Perfect.
one in Rhode Island, so it
Right.
works great for those type of meetings.
Right.
So you can share documents and physically see them and physically see you as well too.
Perfect.
Could you get one in Hawaii? We should really.
Yes, I'm
see.
thinking. Well, I did do a cruise on geriatric medicine. Yes.
My thing is, you know, and if you get the students engaged that way
Exactly.
all along,
Right.
then it'll be part of their natural.
Expectation
Yeah.
for performance.
Yeah. Sorry, I hope I didn't throw you under the bus, Mike.
Not the first time you've been under the bus. Okay.
It's usually just parked.
Kind of lives there.
He lives there.
Slide in and out.
Yeah.
You know?
One of those mechanic wheelie
Yeah.
things now. Right.
No.
So, we have more time and we have bagels, so we can close and stay. But before you leave, could we go around and would you either ask a final question or tell us your biggest takeaway? That'll be part of our assessment. And everyone has to go, then we'll
I really like the part about that it's okay to show process and growth in this accreditation process, and that it's important to not have it just be check in the box, okay, we're done. Make it meaningful, because we have to do it anyway, why not?
I think I took away how important involving the students are in the process. And I think that's one of our strengths, is that we have so many surveys required by our accreditor. And also I meet with every student. I have a small program mid-semester to see how the semester is going, if there's any academic concerns, and I document that. I have a Word document for every student. So anytime they come to see me for tutoring or a concern, I just document that real quick in their file. So I think that will show
Absolutely.
that they have contact time with me, because that is a standard that I'm easily accessible to the students.
Great.
And like the nice thing you said, Mike, with mid-semester, it gives you opportunity to act on something.
Yeah.
It's not over. That's excellent.
I thought it was interesting how you were saying including the standards right at the beginning of your course and actually talking to the students about what they are, because we know what they are. We kind of assume that they know what they are because they're written in the syllabus, but it's like it never even dawned on me. You know what? They don't read, and we've discovered that many times.
Yeah. You have to read the syllabus?
But it just brings an interesting point, because just last week I had a student come in to me, Mrs. Walsh, why don't you just teach us how to pass the board exam? And I said, whoa. And then it was like a weird question. I said, because we would be doing you a huge disservice if it was just to the board exam, because your life and your career goes well beyond that, you know? And so then I started thinking about it and just sitting here listening. I'm like, ding, and the light bulb just went on. So that's a good thing so they know the methods to our madness, so to speak, you know, why we're doing what we're doing. So that's great.
And I'm taking away from this that I have a lot of work to do over the summer.
You didn't know that before?
No, but I'm just thinking about
Opportunities.
right, and
Opportunities.
developing an orientation program for these online students that hasn't been done before, and explaining our accreditation process and the visit and when we expect it, and how their courses do make sense.
Yeah.
And the organization, and
That'll be a great part of the online.
right.
That's
So
a great idea. Yeah.
so yeah, I got a lot of work to do.
Karen, one of the things that Mike and I have done for our programs is we both filmed like welcome messages from us for all of our Blackboard shows.
Yeah.
So
Great.
that at the beginning it explains, so it could be something that you wanted to do.
Yeah, we just did that
For-
with the BSN. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And yeah, right now they just have a flat picture of me. And I was 40 pounds lighter, so I look really good. So, okay.
Yeah, we have those.
Yeah.
So yeah, Matt was saying we have those, and we actually create a whole before week one shell.
Okay.
So in the weekly units, we have week 1, week 2, week 3. We actually have before you start week 1, which we have the welcome message. We have reveal what APA formatting is. We have a link directly to the Blackboard training, so if they have any questions, they go back to that.
Can I come visit you?
Sure,
Yeah. Well, we can email you
That
the
would be
examples of all of
wonderful.
it.
That
And then
would
we
be
can. You can
wonderful.
also
Yeah.
include.
I want you to email
Yeah,
sure.
we'll-
And we can also include like your graphic you're saying
Michael
about
did.
the.
We'll throw him under the bus.
That's fine. I live there, so it's all good. So we actually you include your graphic and go over the outcomes and the standards and build that right into this, so it's a refresher for every student when they.
That'd be great. Yeah, because I don't want to have to reinvent the wheel if it's already been done. If
And
you know
then
what I
even
mean.
in that before week 1, we actually put a small thing from Alex, the writing tutor that works with our students.
Okay.
In there as an introduction, so that if students need
Right.
that help,
Right.
they also know where to go to.
That's great.
So
Yeah, because he comes to our section of Penn Road, so we say, we actually have a video of him talking, saying, this is who I am, so look for this face, and you see who he is, and stuff like
Good.
that as well, too. And we globally put into all our shells for every
That's
class running,
perfect.
so
Yeah.
it's the same message, same consistency.
Great.
Perfect.
Yeah. Got to work on that.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. Oh, I'm thinking I'll wear one of those cardboard masks over my face, so they won't know I'm really 40 pounds heavier. Right. Hold my chin up.
For me, talking about these things is just a reminder that I need to just always stay on top of it.
Yeah.
Because it's very easy to put it away.
Yeah,
And
can't do that. No, it's
Yeah.
a 365 in eternity road. You know. Well,
Any takeaways from you three? Big
oh, sorry,
takeaways or
we
final
skipped right over
questions?
you guys because you were giving away good tips.
That's fine. I'm good.
I think especially for me, it's just like, for instance, putting stuff in the classrooms and the wordage, in the classrooms, the graphics in the rooms, so it's a constant, even though they're not always looking at it, they're looking at it and absorbing it, and then having those discussions the first night of classes as well,
And
too.
faculty will refer to it if it's there too.
Yep.
You know.
How do you do that though, if it's a classroom that is utilized by many people?
you know what? We have one
We nail it in
classroom
the wall.
where most of our classes take place, and then we also take place across the hall.
Yeah.
But now, do other programs use that classroom? Yes. Does it offend them that it's up in the front of the room? I hope
No,
not.
I haven't.
It's okay to go down.
Call facilities, you put a nail in the wall. That's how you get it in there.
Cool. All right.
They'll
I'll
put it
take
right
that.
up for you.
And tell them it's for accreditation, they'll put it up.
Liquid nails are stronger.
And actually, Dan Noonan is the one who got the big things for me. Ours is big.
Now, do you do it just for accreditation, or do you do it for all
Oh,
time?
no, it's up there. It's nailed in the wall.
Oh.
Yeah, it's actually
No,
got
ours just stays
securing
open.
hangers. And
I have one in
it's
my
heavy.
I have one in our offices, and then I have one in that
Yep, we have one in
classroom
the office,
where most
too.
of our classes take place.
Could you do a screenshot? Could you send email
Sure.
it to me?
Go to
Yeah, I mean,
310
this
or
is it.
510.
This is it. It's in
You
a
can
frame.
see it.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is it.
But
This
I
is
know
what
what you
we
mean.
have in the
She's
frame.
thinking about materials and size. I'll take the
Oh.
pictures and I'll send them around.
Yeah, just-
'Cause I'll put them on the Q drive too. So I'll take the one in Jan's and one in
That'd be
yours.
great.
Anyone else have one?
Because our building's kind of institutional over there. It's just wall.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
You know, there's
Oh,
nothing up. So
Yeah, we have almost similar to this at Penn. We actually have the mission statement right when we walk in by Anne Marie's desk. It has the mission statement for the entire department there as well too. So just so you walk in, it just hits you as soon as you get in.
So we've been doing these roundtables once a semester, and we've done them on successful advisory board meetings, how to write and edit the self-study, timelines. We've done like 6 or 7 of them, but is there a topic? If there is a topic, if you have a burning question that you'd like me to try to find people who have different approaches and invite them to do something like this, like I did Jan and Michelle, put the materials together and they give you time to talk with food, I'd be happy to do it for you. So think about anything you're interested in and email me or put it on the evaluation that it's how you send it around. This is great. And it's good discussion.
Can I just add one thing?
Of course.
Like I said, I was a newbie when I was doing this, and there were so many people that had been through accreditation that helped me. I mean, Sue helped me, and Kelly Gutkowski, and obviously Riette. So, I mean, if any of you guys that are going through it, if you just have a question, or if you just want to come in and complain, even if it's to complain about Riette, because I know she can make you crazy, please feel free. My door is open. No, but really, because I really felt very supported. So if you ever want to stop by or
Welcome to
chat or
my
go for
accreditation
coffee.
form.
Outsourcing, we teach that.
And just for the story, because, can I just, it's okay, well, you can tell me afterward if it's okay or not. When Michelle started, the people before her, she didn't have access to records, they were sporadic, she was new. She literally went through every single standard and built things. And I was worried, I remember, because she did the mock and we had a different accreditor read her self-study, read her mock, and I was worried about, what about the fact that she doesn't have 5 years worth of evidence? Mm-hmm. What if she only has meeting minutes or something from the current? And it was fine.
It was
because of her excitement around the accreditation process and all that she learned and what she, and she would send me notes. She's like, I asked the accreditor like this. I'm like, oh, don't ask them, because I was so worried that asking them would show a hole. But in fact, every accreditation is different, and hers was very collegial, and so they felt like they were helping her, and she learned from them, and so she had a flawless visit, no findings.
And I have to say, their focus
that
is
was a
definitely
miracle.
on program improvement. So they're really looking for that. You take the data and you improve on
But
it.
to
That's what
step
they're
in and
looking
not
for.
have records, and then to have a flawless site visit with no findings, I mean, that's a testimony to all the work. I mean, you worked evenings and weekends, And then you said after your mock you felt a little better, but then you kept going. You kept coming up with ideas. So.
Yeah, that's where we came. Well, that was, you know what, I have to say that we only did the mock, I think like a month before. We were going to do it in the summer, but then the timing wasn't going to work out. So it was about a month before. But what that allowed us to do was do those little extras, like those, like the, you know, yeah, in early childhood, something that you do is these documentation panels. So what we did, you know, where you're showing children's learning. So what we did was we did documentation panels for our classes because we knew that the accreditors were only going to visit one class because all of our classes are at night. So it was literally one person that was going to go to one class.
Right.
So we felt like this gave them more of a picture of what we do in our classes.
The panel has the outcomes and 2 or 3 pictures of a student and faculty engaged in something.
Right, and then,
I'll
you know.
put pictures of those up on the site for you.
But-
I'm a huge fan.
But the idea is that having that mock just gave me the ability to kind of breathe.
Right.
And then say, okay, now I have a little bit of time. What can I do to really make it that much better and just really solidify it?
Yeah, this is the first time we're doing a mock, and it's the same person who read the self-studies, so it will be a nice match.
And the final, I was going to say, the final point you said about it not making a difference on the outcome, I remember when I was on a NEA site visit and we met with students, they had handpicked 7 students with amazing stories. And you're right, that didn't make any difference whether or not we accredited them or not.
But it makes a difference to the students who go and are comfortable at those meetings and feel that they've done something for that program.
It helped me to validate that the good things that the people said about the program were true.
Right.
And that the challenges they acknowledged were true.
Right.
So it was more like a truth verification thing than it was.
Right. Which is part of the role of the visitor is to validate what you're telling them.
Carrie, you were going to say
Yeah, I was just going to ask you too. I know, and this is open to different groups if you'd like to do this as well. We had set up that repository for you in Blackboard as well with a lot of these ECE documentation and different things. Was that helpful too?
Oh, it's fabulous.
To put everything together.
They loved it.
Okay.
They loved it.
Keep that in mind.
So I have all my program meeting minutes in there, all my advisory board meeting minutes in there, and then I had a table of contents. And then I also had the pieces of the self-study report by standard, and all the evidence up there. So it really is.
And that's accessible to the students?
No.
Oh.
No, this was for the accreditors and for our program. And honestly, I even keep, like I put our program calendar in there, so our program meetings are in there. When, I found that there were semesters where the test stream surveys, like, oops, forgot to send it out. So now that's in there in the calendar.
What if we send everybody a link? Could you just do a guest for a little while, like a week, so that they could log in and look at it?
ECU? Yeah.
Can we just send it around? That'd be great. Kind of see, because what you're saying is you created it for the accreditor, but now you use it all the time.
Right.
Well, yeah, but I have to upload our final report. I didn't do that.
But then too, in addition to, you were, because I think you had mentioned, and we had this conversation too, you were showing them some of the courses within Blackboard and the structure and how like the courses were set up and everything, so you'd use that. So in addition, it was just like supplemental information. Here's this repository where you had all that stuff. So I thought it had worked out well for you too, so.
Yeah, it did.
I'll send it to
I don't know if we did links to, because we gave them access to all the Blackboard shells separately.
The accreditor asks for what they want. They tell you how to do it.
No, I was just saying that you had shown them some of them, or they were able to view them. So, but in addition to it, you had the supplemental information in the repository that kind of was in alignment with your courses. So yeah, I'll add you all to that particular course, and you guys can take a look at it. Yeah, I'll just student access is fine. I guess